Can you tell us your day-to-day responsibilities as a Scrum Master?
The day-to-day life of a Scrum Master mostly includes facilitating all the Scrum ceremonies that you have to go about with your pods on a day-to-day basis. But mainly the work that goes on from beyond that is how you provide value to your pods. And if there are any, how can we be proactive about it if that hasn't occurred yet? Or if there are any dependencies, any challenges that the pods are facing, just to make sure that situation doesn't occur, and if it has already occurred, how we can overcome that.
What is your most difficult impediment in transformation into Agile? Because people are very resistant to change.
So in Agile, what we say is it's a mindset problem, from fixed mindset to a growth mindset. You need to move them, and some people are stuck in the fixed mindset because just for the sheer number of years they have been spending in that role. So moving them from there to the growth mindset is first challenge, and only then would they be open to the value that Agile can deliver.
Hi Sachin, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing very well. First of all, thank you for accepting my invitation to be on this podcast. It's a pleasure to have you on this show, Sachin. The first time I connected with you on LinkedIn, I saw your entire profile, banking, then Scrum Master, project manager, then release train engineer. All of these designation, the role, the companies that you worked with, I was so excited and I felt like I wanted to talk to Sachin. I want to know his journey, what challenges he faces, and how that responsibility in the life of software development lifecycle brings impact. So I reached out to you. You were so quick, spontaneous, accepted my request. And then we had a quick connect, and now we are here. So thank you very much for accepting my invitation.
Pleasure's all mine.
So, Sachin, we both have actually studied from University of Mumbai. I also come from Mumbai. You have a bachelor's degree. You have a master's degree. You're basically doing your MBA right now.
I'm doing my master's degree right now.
From Rotmans. And in the middle, you have got a postgraduate diploma in project management, business analysis. And now that you are completing your Rotman, I think 2027 is when you are completing it?
Yes. It's a 3-year program. We'll be done in 27.
Wishing you all the very best for it.
Thank you.
What inspires me throughout all of this is your 14 years of journey, 14 years of professional experience in the project management, Scrum Master, release train engineer, and you're still passionate to learn and share the knowledge on platform like this. So tell us about your journey and your passion.
So, like you mentioned, I have my undergrad degree in Bachelor's of Science from University of Mumbai. And that was back in 2011 when I graduated, and I started my journey in software implementation. I wasn't a core developer, but I had to do something with implementing the application that we had on the client side. So I would often have the chance to fly to different countries and work on the project there. But I used to closely work with project managers, with the head of departments, with the project leads, the program leads. And right then and there, at least 2-3 years into my work experience, I decided, what, this is something that I'm more inclined towards. And also my mentor back then in India, I remember this conversation with him. He said that ultimately you are going to be a people manager. So get your hands on that as soon as possible. And there was something he saw in me. He said you do well with people, you're good in conversations, and that's something that inherently comes to you. So maybe that would be the right direction for you to proceed in. And that's when I made it my motto to start moving towards the project management side and mostly people management. So that's where my journey started. And then I moved here, got my project management certificate from Centennial. Then I did my second program from George Brown College in business analysis. And then immediately after that, I started working with TD, moved to IFDS, then moved to RBC, and then back to TD. So I've gone a whole circle. And yeah, I became a project manager back in 2016, 2017. And then working as a project manager, like I got some great experience in the financial domain back in TD as well as in IFDS. IFDS is a child company of State Street Bank. Just wanted to give some information about that. They are also situated downtown Toronto. So after that, I moved to the Scrum Master position, which I currently am working as, and also like on some occasions, I've been a backup of an RTE. I have helped the current RTE that I'm working with, and like I aspire to be that like someday. But as of now, like I'm playing both, like having both the hats, and I'm like, performing both the jobs as of now. So that's been my journey so far. Like yeah, in short.
That's exciting. Someone finds specific skill in you, they recommend you, you enjoy, you are passionate about it, and then you make a career. And then the career graph goes so smooth that you don't even realize how the time has spent, and you keep upgrading yourself and the thing. Very, very, very interesting. So can you tell us your day-to-day responsibilities as a Scrum Master that you play before we begin the in-depth conversation so that we set the tone of the entire podcast?
In a day-to-day life of a Scrum Master mostly includes facilitating all the Scrum ceremonies that you have to go about with your pods on a day-to-day basis. But mainly the work that goes on from beyond that is how you provide value to your pods, and that's mainly under the rugs that's behind the scenes, and that's more often or not like why people have this impression, like if you ask okay, what they see is facilitating the ceremonies, but what goes behind the scenes is the main work, which is mainly I make sure like there are no impediment that the team faces, and if there are any, how can we be proactive about it if that hasn't occurred yet, or if there are any dependencies, any challenges that the pods are facing, just to make sure like firstly that situation doesn't occur, and if it has already occurred, how we can overcome that to minimize the impact to delivery. So that is my main focus on a day-to-day basis.
So if I have to summarize, you're saying that the main focus is mostly on facilitating the ceremonies and making sure that the impediments or any blockers of the team or the projects are removed. These are the primary two. Beyond that, you add value by talking to the people, many other things, streamlining, facilitating, organizing. All those things are your value add that basically makes you a key player in the team.
There goes a lot behind the scenes in resolving an impediment or a challenge. It's not pretty straightforward, because in a big financial institution like TD Bank or RBC, there are a lot of teams that are working on the same thing or are tied to the same project. All right, so there's a lot of people you have to coordinate that with. There's a lot of bureaucracy. There's a lot of hierarchy that you need to follow and be mindful of. So that is a tedious and a slow process, and that's what a major part of my day is spent on.
Yes, very much sure, because when you say the bank may be a little different because of the hierarchies they are following, the regulatory compliance, the type of projects, the type of people. So when we work in non-banking, because I have never worked on banking projects, but I've worked on many other projects where I see Scrum Master not just doing the duties of Scrum, but also doing the duties of projects. For example, budgeting, estimation, and then they also take care of the risk. They also take care of communicating this project information to the other project information, onto the program level, onto the change level, onto the portfolio level. So do you also go through the same type of day-to-day activities also?
So that used to happen before the organization started moving to the SAFE framework. So when all the organizations did not like right away be matured in Agile, so there was a transition for them, and this transition was for them to move from project manager roles to like Scrum Master roles. So not everyone was clear about what the role was. So that's where you mentioned, like, they were also doing budgeting, they were taking care of finances, they were taking care of change management, all of this. So this used to happen earlier back in the day, and I myself have struggled with it. And that was one of my pet peeves, that this is not like, agile. Like, agile itself is does not mean having a small pod and having a scrum master and you've gone agile. No, that's not how it works. Like, you need to have that same framework followed across the organization. That's what scale framework is. I might jump into a little more technical details here. Okay, so this transformation, okay, that's what TD took into their hands, and they invested a lot of money, and also they made it a point that this was one of the key objectives, that they wanted like TD Bank to move from waterfall model to agile. And that's one of the main key reasons why I moved from RBC to TD, because TD started with this new initiative called New. It's called Next Evolution of Work, wherein they wanted to scale agile across the enterprise. And I saw that as a great opportunity. And like, my experience, I could contribute further more than just being a scrum master, but like scaling that on an enterprise level. So here I get to closely work with product groups, with product families, which trickles down all the way on an enterprise level. So that's something I, on a day-to-day basis, contribute towards.
That must be so exciting, because always I hear that until now, like couple of months ago, I always have heard banks are the one organization that is the most difficult to transform into agile. People say,
Absolutely, absolutely.
yeah, people say that they are agile. When interview happens, people are adopting people who have agile, but they actually don't practice agile. They are all hybrid model, or they are completely waterfallish. Even they write BRD, FRD, and many other things. I mean, from the BA standpoint. But I'm surprised that banks are actually adopting scale platform where every organization, every department is actually getting agile.
Absolutely. And to your point, yes, it is absolutely like difficult for banks to adopt this framework right away, because of the legacy applications, because of the legacy systems, the processes that they have developed over several decades, okay, if not years.
Yes,
So
mainframe
moving
applications are being used.
yeah, absolutely. So moving from those is a big challenge. And banks, since they have to meet all the regulatory requirements, they need to be very cautious in every step that they take. Okay, anything that hits the live environment has to go through a lot of scrutiny. All right, you've heard of several instances when like Instagram is down, Facebook is down, and these are big, like the one of the biggest companies in the entire world, and Google's down. All right, but can you imagine what would happen if a bank's application goes down? It is down for scheduled maintenance. That's already scheduled, and notices are sent out and stuff like that. But if they are down, you don't know the impact, and you don't know when they're going to be back up live. That does not simply work with banks. So that's why it is notoriously difficult. I would agree with that challenge. And that's why they need to be extra cautious. And that's why the whole process slows down. The whole adoption process slows down.
So right now in your role, you are not only taking care of a project within a bank, but you're also taking care of the transformation that is happening within the bank, so that everybody adopts the agile platform or agile
Framework.
transformation framework. So in this entire journey, if you are talking about just the transformation, the organization, what is your most difficult impediment in the transformation into agile? Because people are very resistant to change.
Talking about resistance to change, I would say each and every individual in the organization can become a challenge. It's about so agile. When I say agile framework, people mostly think about like this is another methodology of delivering projects. Like we had waterfall, like we had hybrid models, and now we are in agile. But agile is absolutely not that. What I say, like what I try to explain to people is, firstly, it's a mindset that you need to adopt. All right, it's not about project delivery. Like forget about all of that. Like if you are in an agile mindset, okay, you would be able to deliver. Like adopting a framework is not going to be a challenge at all. Like ceremonies and having the whole release train in place and all of that can all be done super fast. Okay, if the mindset of everyone changes, and changing that mindset on each person in the organization, especially like organizations like banks wherein people have been working for the last 25, 30 years a certain way, and then like there are personal biases as well. People are waiting for promotions, people have a career path in their mind, and all of a sudden, if you adopt a new framework and if you change things around, of course, you're going to face resistance to that change. So, completely empathize with people who are resisting that change is the first step. Okay, unless and until you don't accept a problem, like you're not going to try and change that. So putting yourself in their shoes is really important for you to help them out. So
I
each and every individual, I've seen software developers, okay, coming from like tech companies, okay, still resistant to adopt change, like still resistance to adopt agile methodology, because they might have, because of their previous past experiences, for whatever reason that they've moved to the bank, and then if we are planning to move to the same framework, of course you're going to face some resistance. Also, like I've faced challenges from like senior managers who are pretty comfortable in the process that they have set up for themselves and they have been following, and they must have spent years to perfect that process. And if we come and try to change that, of course you're going to face some risk. So at every level, at every step, I have faced resistance. Okay, it's not only about my board, but like the people that all of these people folks report to also. And I've also faced like one of these scenarios wherein people are just half-heartedly adopting it. They're just attending the ceremonies, they're just going with the flow because their bosses have told them to, and then their bosses have told them to, and then their bosses have told them to. So that's something that you don't want it to happen, or else you're setting your organization for failure. Okay, half-hearted work is not really going to last that long. So I've faced like resistance at every step.
In such situations, how do you handle? Because you mentioned you enjoy people management. So people management is one aspect. Any
Mhm.
other aspect that you do in order to manage such kind of challenges?
One of the things that I mentioned, like, you need to put yourself in their shoes. Okay. Like, you need to understand there's not one solution to come to overcome this resistance. Okay. Just mainly because the reason behind that resistance is different. Like I mentioned, like,
So
some
you're
people.
saying that we have to go to the root cause of a problem and try to solve that problem of a person. Example, if you are
Absolutely.
there, your team member, one of them is half-hearted, what do you do if that person is not fully understanding it?
So one key thing is like you need to build that comfort zone in your board. All right. So every individual is firstly able to share. If they feel hesitant, then your job's going to become a bit more difficult. Okay. You need to make sure that you've built that environment, you've built that
Safe zone for
comfort
them.
zone, safe zone for them.
Yes,
You
I
need to
think
build that
making
environment.
making them aware that this process is going to build or give them benefit
Mhm.
or it's in their favor, then only they will be onboarded and then they basically come along with you.
Absolutely, absolutely. But before that, like what I try to do is step number one is to build a safe environment for them to even speak up. Okay, there are some people who are really good in their at their jobs, and you won't even come to know if there's some resistance. Okay, because they're just going to do their work and dust their hands off and they'll be done. But you don't want that either. What you're trying to do here is you're going to build like self structuring, self organizing, self managing teams. If you want to build that, you want to make sure that everyone is safe to share everything, to speak up, and are like have their heart and soul in the pod. So to build that, first step is to build a safe environment. Then you need to understand like who has that resistance problem and what is the reason behind it. And like I mentioned, like it could be a software developer would have a different reason, a senior manager would have a different reason, anyone could have a different reason. So there's no one perfect solution. And then you work on the root cause, then you try to solve that, then you try to show the value that you can deliver by adopting this methodology. So in Agile, what we say is it's a mindset problem, like from fixed mindset to a growth mindset. You need to move them. And some people are stuck in the fixed mindset because just for the sheer number of years they have been spending in that role. So moving them from there to like the growth mindset is first challenge, and only then would they be open to the value that a child can deliver. So
I
it's
think
a
it is.
it's a
I
long
think it
game.
is also about the fixed mindset. The people there are. They also feel that the failure, the
Mhm.
fear of failure, is what keeps them away from the resistance, from the change. So they feel like, okay, what if I change and I'm not able to perform to that level? I may be undervalued. I may be fired. So I believe when you mentioned about the TD Bank or RBC Bank, they are enterprise-wide changes happening. So the transformation should come from the top. The mindset should change from the top. Then the enforcement should happen. That enforcement throughout the enterprise will actually help move everyone. If you move the small bits and pieces at the bottom, the things will not go all the way up.
Absolutely. The lowest level is your foundation. You cannot move things there. And like you mentioned, you said it really well that, for the enforcement, the mindset needs to trickle down from the leadership. They need to make sure, like, and honestly, I would say kudos to like the leadership of RBC and TD. I've spent immense amount of time and I've had the honor of working with some great people in both of these banks. And the leadership has done an immensely good job in creating that level of comfort and that level of like openness within the organization that you can go and talk to one or two levels up the leadership, and you can share your concerns, and that openness is right there, and everyone knows everyone and everyone's on that same flow all the time. So you don't feel that like that energy, that discomfort, that closure that you used to feel back in the day, which kudos to the leadership here that they've done a immensely great job.
Amazing. So most people are still confused with these jargons. The first one is a project manager, Scrum
Mhm.
Master, release train engineer, agile coach. For some, these titles are very synonym. They say they are, oh, project managers, oh, it's the same as Scrum Master, oh, it's the same as RT. Can you tell us the difference so that we understand the basics of it?
Okay. Yeah, I won't jump into too much detail, but I'll try to cover the basics for sure. So, I was a project manager myself, and a project manager is totally accountable for his or her project. Like if there's a project assigned to you, like you are the one who has to make sure like there are resources, the financials are in order, budgeting, like dependencies are managed, if there are blockers in your project, any infrastructure related challenges, everything is like your accountability, like your responsibility. But when it comes to Scrum Master, their accountability or their responsibility is to build a pod that takes up this accountability. Okay, there's a fun like joke and a statement that we all like Scrum Masters crack within ourselves is that a Scrum Master has to make sure that their pod does not need them. You have to make sure that your roles, like your job's not required by that pod, and that's what the funny irony behind this role is. So what you are trying to do is like making each individual accountable for their particular role. Not only that, but they need to feel how their work ties down to the delivery. That's the main key difference between a project manager and a scrum master. Project manager is going to say me, my project, these are my resources, and like this is our project and we're going to deliver. But that's not how a scrum master works. A scrum master is more of a leadership role, wherein like you don't want a boss but you want a leader who's going to push their team forward, enable their team to make sure that they deliver. So
Mm.
that's the key difference which people fail to understand between a project manager and a scrum master. And I understand because of the structure that like is set up in all of these organizations, and mostly it's the project managers that move from the PM role to the SM role. So I understand the confusion and why that is. But I try to teach my pods, and I try to inculcate that information into like all the people that I work with. So this is the key difference between a Scrum Master and a project manager. A release trained engineer is once, I would say, not one step above, because in the Agile framework, everyone's put at the same level. But structurally, like you have pods, which are small teams, okay, which have their own objectives and they're working on. All of these pods trickle down to a project group and then a project family. So if you've had any experience with Agile, you would know there are themes, then there are features, then there
Yes.
are epics, and then there are like stories. So stories are at a pod level. Okay, all of these epics are at a pod level, and these are assigned by product groups. All right. Now, product groups are the owners of the feature, and that level is where the RTE works at. So RTE's job, like it's a release train engineer. So like you have the agile release train. Okay, that person is sort of the owner of that release train. That person is the one responsible to make sure like all the pods that they have are in line with the objectives of the organization, are in line with the objectives of what the theme of the organization is. So I hope I'm like I know I've thrown a lot of words over there.
No, no, I think this is
Maybe a
quite
lot of new words.
understandable because see what happens is in the real world, a lot of viewers or a lot of people who are actually watching our podcast, they are all coming from single project perspective. Single project perspective for them, they mean single project or single pod. So they aren't so familiar with what happens in large organization because they also come from a small setting. Small setting means small company to medium company where they are still growing. Large companies like banks or retail stores or telecom, they are really large. They have larger goals, larger organizational vision that they try to achieve, and they break down into products, multiple product. One product has got a release train engineer, which has got multiple epics underneath it.
Mhm.
Each pod taking care of couple of epics from the product side. That is broken down into smaller one. That's when the product owner comes.
Mhm.
That's when a scrum master comes. Imagine, I mean, I know for a fact that there was one other project, not project, I would say the entire program or a product that I was working on. It has six pods,
Mhm.
and six pods share a common goal or a vision of the product.
Mhm.
Six pods have got six product owners, and six pods have got two scrum masters shared between these. And we have a release train engineer which takes care of multiple products at the same time and ensures that they are released at the synced order and no problem. The product managers know what they are delivering. Are they delivering first the highest priority feature?
Mhm.
First time I experienced that beyond the project, there is the full layer of product and business people who
Mhm.
are working to sync, adjust, prioritize the business value that they are going to deliver on the larger level, not on the smaller level.
Correct.
Please correct me if I'm wrong
You
anywhere.
are absolutely right. Yeah, yeah, you're doing good. So yeah, like I mean, you've put it like really well, and that's one of the positives of Agile is that you have visibility onto that entire deliverable. Like you mentioned, okay, there's a release train engineer making sure all of these product groups or all of these pods align on their objectives. Okay, so you need somebody to make sure all of that alignment is in order. All right, and then you have scrum masters taking care of the pods.
Yeah.
Okay, but the beauty of agile is that you know how your piece of work fits into that larger organization's objective. You could see the whole traceability, and that's the beauty of it. Like you don't feel like, okay, and this is my part, I've developed a module and goodbye, that's it. That's how, like, waterfall or even iterative waterfall used to work, and
Mm.
that's, yeah, that is.
You talked about the scale framework. It was really hard for a lot of organization to just think about getting into agile because it starts not just by implementing agile, but it starts in the mindset that people need to first think agile, then they can start to adopt agile. So we are struggling to get into agile. Why scale platform has come up even more? Like it's even more advanced, right? So are we saying that it is because there were so many agile teams that is why it was necessary to scale? Or are you saying that if you go top down approach, it was necessary to have a scale framework? That's the enablement of the agile at the bottom level.
Yes and no. It's a bit of both. It's a perfect balance between both of them, because, like I mentioned previously, when people say, like, they are agile, okay, they're just agile at a pod level. Okay, they are not agile at an enterprise level, and that is what some that was lacking a lot throughout the organizations, through everywhere. People were aware of having a Scrum Master, having having the Scrum framework. Okay, making a release every 2 weeks after the sprint ends. That's all that people knew about Agile. But how does this align with larger organizations' objective? No one was clear about that, and that's what Safe put all of these things in place together, and that's why they created the Agile release train. In how, if you are an organization with five department full of people, which will have five pods each, how are you going to make sure you meet that one organization's goal? I think that is what Safe framework really makes, puts things in place and makes it clear.
I see. So for a person to become a Scrum Master, what skills that person must have in order to become a Scrum Master?
So skills, skills wise, information wise, you can gain all the certifications in the world, but you won't be an efficient Scrum Master if you firstly are not interested in working with people. So you got to have if you feel you are a person who is good as an individual contractor, I don't think being a Scrum Master is for you. Or you really got to love working with people, and you got to have that inherent nature of being empathetic, to sit, understand what the root cause problem is, to look beyond their reaction. Most often people react and you react to their reactions, and that's how things
Proactive.
flow. Yeah, but you need to understand why the person has reacted a certain way. And we spoke about this earlier, you need to work hard towards going to the root cause of the problem. Until and unless if you don't have that ability, if you don't have that empathy and that patience to work this way, okay, I don't think being a Scrum Master is for you. But if you feel if you are passionate about working with people, if you love managing so many teams, if you like to put yourself out there, then for sure this role is perfectly for you. And apart from that, of course, you need to have the knowledge of the whole framework and how it works. And there's a lot of certifications out there. There are a lot of organizations that provide these certifications. So of course you need to have those. Those are going to enable you to know how this framework is. So yeah, two things that I can highlight for sure.
Business analyst responsibility is very much aligned to what you said. Example, the BA needs to be very good at communication. The BA needs to be very good at people management. They must love people. They need to orchestrate a lot of stakeholders, make sure that they're aligned. So at times, I have also seen a lot of BAs doing Scrum Master responsibilities in a project.
Yeah.
But what is that key difference that a Scrum Master versus BA should have that signifies that they are different besides their hard skill? As you mentioned, Scrum Master takes care of the ceremonies. BA doesn't take care of the ceremonies, but if given an opportunity, can take care of it. It's not that difficult. So what is that one add-on thing that a Scrum Master has, not a BA has?
In my experience, what I've seen is that BAs are your vision. Okay, your vision would be towards what needs to be delivered, or what this. If you're a BA, you're going to focus on what the requirement is. All right, how you're going to transform this requirement into something that the
Technical
developers and the
language.
QEs can work on. Maybe technical, maybe functional. There are a lot of BAs who are just strictly functional BAs. But the key difference, I would say, between a Scrum Master and a BA is just that vision. Okay, Scrum Masters have that outlook towards what the expectation from the RTE is. How is this objective going to trickle down to a particular an OKR that the whole organization has? All right, so that vision, that lack of vision, probably it's only because of the nature of the role, maybe. Okay, that when you're a BA, you're only restricted to your pod and probably your program, and you don't know how it's going to trickle down. So that's the only difference. But this vision that you have, and especially you're just not worried about the delivery or the functionality, but you're more worried about the people. So that is the key difference, I would say, between a BA and a Scrum Master. But
Very true.
BA is perfect for one of the BA is one of the roles. BA and PM are one of the roles that go synonymous. along with Scrum Master and are easily transferable. Because in TD, like I've seen a lot of people who were previously in the PA role as well as PM roles have transferred into the Scrum Master role.
Yes, I have also seen a lot of people who basically do BA and Scrum Master, because Scrum Master is a bit easier role than project management, because project management, as you mentioned, entails a lot of other things,
Mhm,
diverge into
mhm,
costing, project estimation, risks. Of course, Scrum Master also does, but from the Scrum perspective, from that framework perspective. So a lot of people in bank are able to do, and not just bank, small setting companies are also able to do Scrum Master BA together.
mhm.
Very fair. But when it comes to advanced level of Scrum Master, then that's when the scale framework comes. That's when the knowledge is
Absolutely.
applied. That's
Yeah.
when more confidence in the framework is needed to hold, to educate, to coach, to mentor. Because then it's not about getting the day-to-day work done. It is more about educating people to do it the right way, so that the framework yields the right result for the people or the team.
Absolutely, you said it really well. And also, one thing I've noticed is mostly in the organizations wherein you have these people playing multiple hats, like if there's a BA who's also taking care of a Scrum Master role and stuff like that. Okay, those are the types of organizations who are very they are in their infancy of agile framework. Like they are the people who have a pod, who have a Scrum Master, and they call themselves agile. They don't have a release train, they don't have RTs in place, they don't have an SLT in place. So there's no solution train engineers. So that's why I would say like they are in their infancy of agile adoption. And that's why they feel like BAs or PMs can like handle these roles. You would often see, like I see in a lot of job descriptions, like wherein they have a PM role, but then in the bracket they have a Scrum Master role. So
Correct.
basically, they want a project manager who's going to take care of these agile ceremonies, and they're going to dust their hands off and okay, we are agile and done. And
I
that's
see.
yeah, and honestly, these organizations are then failing in in building that mindset. The key thing in that building that mindset, they're setting themselves for failure is what I would say.
Correct. So hypothetically, talking about a new project that an organization wants to start. This could be for bank, this could be for any organization, but imagine that there is a project that an organization wants to build so that they solve a problem. I remember, because I'm not more from a project management side, that's why I'm unable to answer this or know about it. If a project organization wants to start, they say, okay, I want to build this mobile application, this will solve a problem. So in Waterfall, the PM was hired first, the project charter was signed, and then the team was built, the costing was done, the work breakdown structure was built, and everything else used to happen. But here in Agile platform, if organization is set up in Agile, scope of work is signed,
Mhm.
who is hired first? Scrum Master, or someone even before that I don't know about, or anything like product manager or a product owner. What is that one thing, that the gap here that is missing?
In this case, I would say from what I've seen in TD, like even the pods have existed way before the work has actually come in. So having the whole framework in place, okay, is much more valuable than after you've gotten the work scrambling for resources and then throwing a pod together and getting it done. Like that's not.
But this is for projects that are already existence. But what if the project is completely new, the new pod is set up? Who decides, okay, this is going to be the budget of my project?
So budget of the project here, we have somebody called PGTLs and PGPOs. So PGPOs are like group product owners, and PGTLs are product group technical leads.
I
Uh,
see.
yeah, so they are again at a product group level, okay, which for explaining people who are in a project management space, I would say they're at a program level. So the program has a certain SAO, statement of work signed, and they have a budget in place. And now they know, as per that, how many resources they can hire, how many pods they can set up,
Mhm.
what is the scope of work that they have signed up for, and then they can set their pods or align their pods in certain way. So I would say like at a program level, like how you have program managers signing this or agreeing upon a statement of work, and
Hmm.
then they have like PMs in place. You are going to hire work on this project, you're going to work on that project, and how that's going to trickle down, and then you set up a team. So something along those lines. But what I have seen is the pods are already in place. Okay,
Hmm.
maybe there's some reshuffling based on like skills of developers, experience, their preference to what they want to work on, and stuff like
Hmm.
that. But it's the PGPOs and the PGTLs who take care of these things.
Okay. All right. Thanks for letting me know on that, because there has always been some confusion in large organization how things follow. Some people that I talk to, they say I am the BA, I am the PM, I am the one who basically does the costing, everything else. So it becomes such a amalgamation of the different roles. So Sachin, let's go to one of the interesting round called as Mythbuster.
Okay.
And I'll ask you about some myths that I hear from the industry,
Mhm.
and please justify what do you think about if it is a real thing or is it still a rumor from your perspective.
Okay. Okay.
So
Interesting.
yes, so the biggest myth that I hear is the Scrum Master is a Scrum police. They enforce Scrum rules. Is this a myth?
This is a myth.
And why do you
You want me
think?
to answer why so?
Yeah.
Okay. So, in Scale framework, like SAFe calls Scrum Masters as servant leaders. And if the word servant comes in your description, I don't think you have the power to enforce something. All right. Enable is one thing. Okay, enforcing is something else. So we do enable teams to be able to carry on with the framework,
Hmm.
okay, with the ceremonies that are required. Enforcing is something that I would say it's a very strong word to use. It doesn't go synonymously with Scrum Masters.
All right. The second myth is the Scrum Master removes all impediments or blocker from the project or the pod.
Yes and no, because there are some blockers which might be coming from outside of the PG or the program. There might be some blockers coming in from teams which are not in Agile. So in TD, we faced these challenges because we were in transformation. That like a few pods had transformed to Agile, but a few teams hadn't. So they were following their old processes and they were having the same expectations, and this was creating some conflicts and some challenges. So in that case, like it wasn't up to the Scrum Master to be able to handle that, because that had to trickle down, that had to escalate to people working at the higher level and then make those decisions. So I would say
Mm.
yes and no. Most of the impediments, yes, which would be straightforward, but a few have to go to the RTs, a few have to go to the SLTs.
Mm. I also feel sometimes that the impediments can be solved by the team members themselves. If the
Most of
impediment is
them.
coming from the technical leader, maybe the other team members can solve it. Maybe the
Yeah.
juniors, maybe other team members. So I think you mentioned something about the cross-functional self-organizing team.
Yeah.
I believe they are able to solve it. So yes, definitely yes and no. The another myth that I keep hearing is you need a Scrum Master certification in order to be an effective Scrum Master.
Well, this is a tricky one. It can be yes and no again, mainly because there are certification is something that says that you are like you have been through the training, and you have gone through the necessary hours of learning, and then you're certified for it. Okay, but there are more often than not, the truth is that you tend to learn more on your job than you are already prepared for it. So just having a certification and no experience is also no good. And that's why my answer is yes and no. Because there are a lot of people who have come from some random role, or like have no exposure to to even project management, let alone like agile pods or agile framework, and then they have done a certification and then they believe like they're okay to be a scrum master. That's
Not
not
true.
going to work out for you, because firstly, like, you don't have the mindset, you don't believe in it. It's just something that you spent some hours training yourself, got the certificate, and yeah.
I think this is very important. A lot of people believe that certifications, education can take you or give you more salary or give you better position. But I think it's more about, even without certification, if you have that inbuilt qualities
Mhm.
that is needed for the success of that role, nobody can stop you. Certification is just like a batch or a cherry on an
Exactly.
ice cream. The ice cream itself should be tasty. Then you will
Exactly.
enjoy it.
Absolutely. It's like being a doctor, right? Like you can get your degree, but then without practice, it's not going to work. Same with being a lawyer, right? Like you got to spend years and years of practicing, and then you do become a lawyer.
Absolutely. So, Sachin, let's do another type of section, another round, which is called as rapid fire round.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this is where I want to know what comes in your mind, the quickest thing that basically comes to your mind. Doesn't have to be right or wrong, but what you feel instantly is where I want to know. Are you
Okay.
ready for it?
Yes, let's do this.
Okay, great. So, your favorite agile ceremony?
Favorite agile ceremony is PI planning.
Why?
So people like people who have done their PI planning for the first time, or like who are just newly introduced to this, not only first but like are doing it for the first few times. Okay, they are really amazed with what the outcome of that meeting is. Okay, the sheer they're amazed with the fact that like an organization is giving you, it's a 2 day long ceremony. Okay, and our organization is letting those 2 days off work and just focusing on the planning for the next quarter,
Entire quarter.
entire quarter. So that, like, people who work the older way are really amazed with it. They're like, usually like
They
you
get
are
to see the entire quarter's plan, which is what makes them
exactly.
happy.
Exactly. So you know what you're going to do for one whole quarter. More often than not, like you also know, like, okay, this is what we are trying to accommodate in this quarter. This is what is going to get pushed to the next quarter. So you have that pipeline view, which I don't think any other, like, it's never happened in waterfall. You don't know what you're going to do next week, or like.
I think they come to know about the entire project, which
Mhm.
is still on a plan. Divergence can happen, but in PI plan, they are saying, okay, this is what you put more business value, and all the product teams sit together to know just not just your project, but the other projects together as the organization level for a quarter, which is still not long, not too short.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But this is from the Agile and I think Scale platform. But what about the Scrum? Which is your favorite Scrum ceremony?
Scrum ceremonies, I would say, is, you'd be surprised, but it's retrospective.
The one which is the most missed.
Yeah, the one which people tend to skip the most, because mainly because I have now I've taken care of at least 8 to 10 pods which I've helped transform from like into agile, into the new framework that TV is following, which is next evolution of work. And these people used to feel like retrospective is a waste of time. We're just saying the same things, nothing, no outcomes coming out of it, and stuff like that. But when they saw the changes that Retro has brought to like over like 2 or 3 PIs, meaning like all of these quarters, okay, they saw that like the concerns that we've mentioned in the retrospective are have reached the management, have reached the PG, the folks at PG level, at family level. So, and though they have been worked on, they have been addressed. That's when they started like understanding the value behind it. So again, like trickling down to understanding the value of it. Uh, and also in the beginning, people were shy to speak about it. Okay, but then later on, like nowadays, I'm having retros which are like, I have a retrospective scheduled for 30 minutes, but the conversations go on for like more than an hour. I have to make sure like I set up the retrospective for end of days, so that we have that runway of like,
Fun
if the meeting
conversation.
spills over, like people just want to have this conversation. And the second surprising fact about like retrospective is there is so much appreciation for each other that's built that just doesn't come out. Or that there's just no medium for it to come out on a day-to-day basis. There's no platform given for that. And once in retrospective, when that comes out, like everyone, that team bonding, you can see that
Increases.
happening real time.
I have also seen if there is no retrospective, people tend to be within themselves.
Mhm,
They hide their feeling.
mhm,
Uh, but this is one, I think, good quality of a Scrum Master that they need to start or they need to have a conversation or create that safe zone between the people where they feel trusted, they can speak out. And I think one of the biggest quality of a Scrum Master is to make that environment or foster that culture of speaking big time. So definitely, I also
Often,
believe retrospective is one of the favorite, but often neglected, often missed.
often neglected. Yeah.
So another rapid fire question: one word to describe being a Scrum Master.
One word to me is uh, I have two words. Like it's servant leader is the perfect word for being a scrum master. You're not a
Type of
boss. You're
leadership.
not a yeah. You're not a boss. You're not a project manager. Okay, manager comes with its biases. So I'm not going to call myself like a manager as well. But being a servant leader is something that like you said, like you need to foster that culture of openness, and like people need to feel comfortable with you and come and talk to you.
Mhm.
And like touchwood, I've had the honor and the pleasure of working with amazing people who have felt that comfort with me, and I'm proud that I was able to build that relation and that safe environment in my pods. But that's some key thing that people tend to often forget, that a scrum master is a servant leader. You are
Mhm.
supposed to lead people, but you're also there to, like, you're an enabler, and that's where the servant comes in front of the leader.
I see. Very interesting. I think it's one of the important quality of the leadership. You some when time you need to be servant, when time you need to be a leader.
So yeah.
One agile practice that you think is overrated.
One agile practice that you think is overrated? Mm, I would say.
To my knowledge, I think there is none because I mean my feeling.
Yeah.
The reason why I think it is not there is because agile itself is created with minimum meetings,
Mhm.
minimum ceremonies, with just enough and only enough documentation. So I felt like all of those ideas of the practices have been adopted from various agile practices. And when I look into Scrum alone, Scrum doesn't have stand up of its own. It's basically adopted from one of the old agile practices. Same goes with retrospectives, same goes with review. So I feel like none of them are overrated or none of them is misunderstood. They are all adopted from one of the best practices, and still they say you should adopt. If you can, it
Those
is
are
good. If you
recommended
don't,
practices.
yeah,
Yeah.
these are the recommended practices. This is my thought process.
Hmm. Hmm. No, true. Yeah, that's why I got stuck at that question, because there isn't any that I believe. Uh, I went through the list of ceremonies in my head, but yeah, there's
None,
nothing that
none. Yeah,
I can
definitely.
focus on. Yeah.
Every time I see
Personally,
that every ceremonies are useful, none of them should be missed. None of them can be missed. None of them is a thing that gives you bad result or result that is not fruitful for the team.
true, true, and yeah, I used to face this challenge earlier, where people did put forward that, like, there are a lot of meetings happening and stuff like that, but then I firstly, like, they started understanding the value of each meeting, and secondly, if you go to see, there's not more than 3 hours of meetings that I have per pod, uh, when it comes to agile ceremonies. I'm talking about, like, per week. So which is not even, like, less than 10% of their time going towards meetings, and plus meetings which are actually valuable. So when they understood that fact, I think they became pretty open to having any agile ceremonies possible.
Definitely. I think a lot of people, even in Agile, when they understand the meaning of Agile and when they
Mhm.
look into the ceremonies, I hear this word that they say, these are so many meetings. I
Yeah,
was like, I think you haven't seen waterfall meetings yet.
yeah,
You
yeah.
need to be in waterfall meetings to understand that these meetings are quite agile in nature,
Mhm.
very minimum, and that too not compulsion. If you attend it, it's fine. If you don't attend it, it's fine. As long as you're you're not actively there, but attending every one of them is important for your growth. So definitely. So Sachin, uh, it, from our conversation today, I realize one thing is for sure. In order to be not a Scrum Master, but an excellent Scrum Master like you are, one has to enjoy people, processes, project, talking, organizing, facilitating, removing blockers, and add as much as value to your team, to your organization, where these things are for the benefit of the organization. This
Absolutely.
also means that knowing the right skills, having a good mindset of Agile, because Scrum belongs to Agile, also means that uh, the responsibilities are the same no matter where in life you are, whether you are in banking or retail or telecom. It just will have some more notion. If you want to be amazing Scrum Master, you don't have to have certifications, but it would be nice to have certifications. It would be nice if you are going beyond the Scrum and following safe from the organization standpoint, because that actually leads you depending on how the organization goes. I think all of these are correct, right? Anything to add here?
No, you've covered it all. Last thing like I can say is like if you are not sold onto the idea, okay, it's going to reflect in your actions and your day to day work. So, firstly, like if you are trying to like you mentioned, like enforcing, then it becomes enforcing, not enabling your team, and that shows. So, firstly, you need to be in that mindset before you get people to adopt that mindset, and
Very
that's
true.
something that I've seen a lot of Scrum Masters, like it's clearly visible. People can see that through their day-to-day actions. So you need to be sold on that idea. You need to have some experience with that idea firstly, and then you can try to build your pods in building
Absolutely.
that idea.
And I think I will just clarify when I say that you don't need a certification. Of course, you do need a certification.
Yeah,
You do need to know the mnemonics, the structure, the framework of a Scrum Master, but that will not make you the best. That will
yeah.
only come through experience, talking to people, experiencing it yourself, um, facing the challenges to solve it. And certifications are always nice. Education never goes beyond.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So, Sachin, thank you so much for being here on the show once again. It was such a fun, loving conversation to know your journey, your experience, your challenges, your transformation, your passion, your vision. So, thank you for being here and helping all our audiences know the reality of a Scrum Master. And definitely, we'll keep in touch. Any last minute thoughts for our viewers?
Thank you for having me. Firstly, it was a great, fun conversation. I can't believe it's more than an hour already, and thank you for amazing questions. Like I've spoken about Agile to several people, but no one has asked the right questions, which has enabled me to open up and to share my thoughts about how passionate I am with this, and also like it gave me a chance to address the biases that usually people have about Agile and what impression they have. So I hope a lot of people learn from this, and if there's anything, like feel free to connect with me, and I would be like it'll be my pleasure to shed more light on it, and I hope I have been able to change your mindset as well.
Definitely, a lot of things to learn, and I'll keep in touch to basically learn more. And I'll ask the audiences also, please reach out to you through your LinkedIn profile, or me for business analysis, or you for Scrum Master, so that we make this place a better place, a change place, where we are a better version of ourselves.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
thank you so much. Have a good day.